You've learned about the polyvagal theory, stuck in a defensive state, you don't know what to do next, and you are looking for hope. Is it possible to get unstuck? And if so, can somebody recover from a chronic, lifelong freeze? Can you actually feel safe and build your body's safety state? Great questions. In this episode, we hear from Janie. She has successfully unstuck herself from a lifelong freeze, and she shares a bit of her story, what she's found the most helpful, and gives you a couple of tips as well. Hi, my name is Justin Sunseri. I'm a therapist and coach who helps you live more calmly, confidently, and connected without psychobabble or woo-woo. Welcome to Stuck Not Broken. This is, of course, not therapy, nor is it intended to replace therapy. Oh, and no, this is not a paid testimonial from an Unstucking Academy member. I asked the Unstucking Academy members if they were willing to share their unstucking success. People outside of the community, like you, dear listener, but also people that are new that come into the academy. They want to know if it's possible. They want to know if there are stories of success. They want to know how long it takes. They want to know how to get unstuck. So that's why I put that question out to the Unstucking Academy. Janie answered the call and she volunteered her story. She actually did this discussion with me twice due to a recording issue that happened the first time. So, Janie, thank you so much. And thank you again for doing it again. But thank you so much for sharing your story with us. The first thing that Janie shares about is her stuck defensive state and what life used to be like.
I would say in general terms, it was more or less a freeze. It was, sometimes maybe dorsal, sometimes maybe flight, depending on my age and circumstances. But I really had very little acquaintance with ventral vagal, given my early circumstances. And the opportunity to discover a more ventral vagal system inside came when I was married. And then I had the sense of safety and kindness and generosity.
The freeze activation, you said sometimes it felt more, you felt the immobility aspect of it more, and sometimes you felt the flight aspect of it more. But freeze was kind of the underlying current within your system, and you alluded to, and you don't need no need to go into details at all, but that you alluded to, there's a long history of being stuck in some level of freeze throughout your life, is what I'm hearing.
You got it.
Okay. All right, so freeze and pretty much a lifetime worth of some level of freeze activation, which looked different at different times throughout life. And then connection came from marriage. Or ventral activation came from connecting with someone, and that was your marriage, right?
Yeah, and what remained stuck was my connection with women. So it was very gender specific. So my journey it's required being in reconnecting with women and teaching my nervous system that proximity with the feminine is safe.
Do you feel like you made progress in that goal of reconnecting, feeling safe with women in particular?
Very much.
Was there a specific moment or like a turning point where you really recognized stuckness, whether regarding women or something else? And is there any point where that freeze activation, like you really saw it, where it really struck you?
Oh, yeah. One aspect was a slow dawning, and that was that after my husband died, no tears would come. I was numb. I mean, it's okay to be numb for a short time, but I was numb for 5 years. And I said, something is stuck in here. I'm emotionally frozen. And then the other aspect having to do with connection with women, I realized I was stuck specifically with that because of some healing work I did in a situation where we were all pulled together in a way that I couldn't escape the feminine female camaraderie, and we uh, went through a ceremony, and um, it revealed to me that I had never been loved, and that opened up a wound, that core wound, and I fell into a deep spiral of shame. And so at that point, I would say that point was I became unstuck, but I
Yeah.
wasn't being guided carefully at that. When that awareness came, and I fell into that deep pit of shame, I reached out to a therapist.
Okay. So with that ceremony, was that some sort of retreat?
Yeah, it was retreat in Hawaii, and we were doing a very primitive recreation of being naked and finding clothing from the leaves and
Oh my
whatnot,
gosh!
that
Wow.
natural, and then
Yeah.
painting each other's body with some kind of mud, healing mud. And a woman painted the spiral circle on my leg, and she said, "This is the mother symbol."
Okay.
And I was so aghast and so repulsed
Hmm.
by being touched by the mother
Yeah.
symbol,
Yeah.
and and I,
In the context of all women.
in the context of all women, and we were, when you figure you're without clothing, you are
Yeah.
without your protections, your
Yeah.
masks, your whatever,
Exposed.
exposed, um, and it was like a flash of insight for me.
At the very least, it sounds like, yeah, flash of insight. But so that moment there was some unstucking, but it wasn't all ventral vagal bliss. The shame and I'm assuming other emotions just surfaced.
Shame, pure shame.
Shame, yeah. Just
I've
all shame.
all
Lots of
shame.
shame. Okay.
I how how could you be somebody that even your mother doesn't love? Um, so the sense of worthlessness was profound, and it had been something I had held off for a long time.
So all of a sudden there it is, all of it, all at once. And you got through that somehow, but then the first thing you did, I'm hearing, is you sought a therapist.
Yes, yeah.
Was that a match right away? Everything went great?
No, I mean, she was a dear,
Okay.
dear person. Uh,
Okay.
I would say that she might have been using cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. She was fresh out of her master's
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
And after a year or so, she handed me off to a trauma specialist.
Okay.
And I've been with that woman ever since.
Was there anything along the path of being with this therapist um, that really helped you get to the next level as far as unstucking goes?
Very much. Uh,
Okay.
she was a somatic experiencing therapist.
Oh, okay.
So we were dispensing of the stories from pretty much from the get go. Her particular protocol is just uh, gazing, being very present, supplying her spirit of generosity, um, her mirroring, um, and what can I say? That the presence of the loving female. That was difficult for me to absorb in my body and my nervous system.
Sure.
And she likened it to a plant that has completely dried up. The soil is dried up. That whenever you try to water such a plant, the water just runs right off. So she said it will take some time for me to
Yeah.
start being able to absorb those
Yeah.
wonderful relational ventral vagal vibes from her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It it sounds like, at least just from what you share so far, that there's been moments where you're really saturated in, I don't know, connection maybe, that ceremony. You're really saturated in vulnerability. Do you feel like now it's a slower paced, slower unstucking process, or do you feel like there's a shift there for you?
Yeah, I would say the therapy is a very slow process because it's tempered with what my nervous system can manage without falling into that pit again, to going
Yeah,
down to dorsal, because that shame had brought me back down into dorsal.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So now it's slower process, not the flooding, not the saturation
The
as well.
pendulation, the titration, uh, at the pace that my nervous system can hear.
Getting unstuck is typically not something we do all at once. Maybe, I mean, if that was true at that ceremony, you probably would have gotten unstuck and that was it. But obviously, not what happened. You got the therapist. Uh, what else are you doing? You're in the Unstucking Academy. What else are you integrating into your unstucking uh, journey?
Really important has been bonding with a small group of women who discuss their polyvagal experiences, who frame things in this way. We all come from uh, well, it's just a group of three of us, but we all come from uh, a history of rather emotional impoverishment and
Yeah,
are finding our way back into connection. And we're putting, Stephen Porges's work, your work, Deb Dana's work into practice.
besides connecting with each other and meeting and discussing the polyvagal concepts, what does putting it into practice look like for you?
Well, it's not a head thing. It's where we talk about uh, whatever's coming up for us. And it's not group therapy either. Um, but we are sharing with each other what is kind of moving through our system, moving through our awareness, our self awareness, and our nervous system in the past week. Then the other members uh, mirror back to us what we have said in a way that is to aid us to clarify what
Mm,
our process is and to offer connection, support, complete acceptance,
wow.
affection, encouragement. It's not definitely not group therapy. We're not looking for each other
No,
to process our issues. We're
no narratives, no storytelling.
only to the degree that it adds enough context for what
Gotcha.
our body has been up to.
Like as it's as relevant.
Yeah, as relevant, and we all share the same goal of of uh, enough self-awareness, self-knowledge, and awareness of our nervous system that we can be uh, comfortable with ourselves
Yeah.
and pursue our own goals in life or our own relationships in life in a way that is less contaminated by the defensive states.
All of you share that goal. Really healthy boundary. Uh, really just being there for each other in light. I mean, it's not simple. It's not easy to do these things, but I mean, I'll say simple, as in the reflecting, the mirroring, the listening, just basic listening skills, but compassionate listening skills with healthy boundaries. and it's a group of women. It sounds pretty direct, but also just paced, not rushed, not saturated. There's connection there, and you're getting some basic needs met with each other. Is that sum it up?
It does. And we've been meeting, I think, for about 7 or 8 years now, almost as long as I've been in therapy. We started before we knew much about polyvagal
Mm.
theory. Uh, and and so then we would talk about other modalities that we'd be using. But we've kind of all realized that it's the body. The body
Yeah.
has its ways and it speaks.
Yeah. Yeah. What other? I know you're from your discussions in the community. You're interested in other modalities, other ideas, other ways of thinking.
I'm pretty much seeing things through a polyvagal lens, and uh, like another one of my teachers, so to speak, is Dan Siegel, and he has teaches the wheel of awareness and teaches about uh, people living either on the rim of life where we all need at times to live, which is how we're interacting with the environment, how we're interacting with other people, the concrete kind of elements of life,
Yeah.
and then the various plateaus. If you're going down toward the center of or the depths of being, rather than existing uh, in an unadulterated way as we existed as infants. I mean, our nervous system
Mm.
was right on target when we were born. But rather than existing there, we've learned and started existing on what he calls a plateau of existence, where
Mm.
we made enough adaptations to our circumstances that kind of defined and confined our interests and our activities. I meditate most mornings with
Okay.
that. And the purpose, for me anyway, is to get beneath my regular frame of awareness, which has its own limitations. And that includes like my various defensive states, uh, down into this, what he calls this level of uncertainty and possibility and safety. So I sort of am of the opinion that for shifts to happen in our thinking, our
Yeah.
emotional anticipation, our nervous system, we need to unhook from our preconceived ways of doing things, ways of thinking, ways of feeling.
Yeah.
And this meditation helps one kind of unhook from all of that.
So they to unhook, you would need to connect deeper with yourself,
And
connect
yeah, you
deeper with
gain
your.
some good self awareness, that ability to self reflect,
Yeah.
to witness oneself.
It's big. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so the
Okay.
other person who's had a wonderful influence is Lindsay Gibson. And
Okay.
she's the one that's written a number of books about children of emotionally immature parents.
Okay.
Yeah. So that has demystified this collection of traits that I have carried with me in such a gentle way that I would say my nervous system recognizes it was nothing personal. There was nothing that I was doing wrong that created a situation. Uh,
Yeah.
it was an insufficiency of resources that uh, a nervous system and was trying to make sense of, and was providing me So my nervous system was providing me with all the resources uh, I needed to
Yeah.
continue with life.
Learning has helped to demystify. You had at least one big retreat in there that we know about. The little women's group that you meet with every week, therapy, Unstucking Academy, and probably more things I'm sure you've done. Daily meditations. Any journaling?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So with all these efforts, and I'm willing to bet there's a couple more that we haven't named.
I have my nightly ritual, which is before going to bed, or actually in bed. I my mind and my body is stilled, and that's when I do my acknowledgement meditation, uh, where I really kind of turn my mind off, turn my felt sense on, and just acknowledge whatever's coming up. It takes some time, but it offers a way to settle myself at the end of the day and to possibly gain some insight or some more self knowledge.
It sounds like the big pieces for you, tell me if I got this wrong, but co-regulation with women in particular maybe has been a big piece of your unstucking. Rituals has been a piece of your unstucking. Building insight, looking inward. It doesn't seem like you're afraid to do that. That's been a piece of your unstucking also.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. So after all your efforts, the years of putting all these pieces together and probably trial and error as well, where are you at as far as your safety level? Where are you at now versus where were you?
I lived at a 1, maybe a 2 out of 10. Gosh, such a constant state of anxiety. It varied if I was around, depending on who I was around,
Yeah.
very much, as I think it does for everyone. But never a sense of complete ease or a sense of belonging. There was always a sense that I had to do something to fit in. I vary between a 5 and a 7 now. And there's times I'm up at a 10. What's wonderful is that I'm getting to know that territory of what a 10 feels like. It's fantastic. It's a place where I can kind of spread out internally. I don't feel constricted. It offers a clarity of thought, a certain kind of vitality and interest in life, in my interior life, and others people's lives. It's a place of safety and affection, comfort.
From that 10, there's comfort, curiosity, affection, connection with others, openness, a sense of spreading, you said. Sounds like a very peaceful, calm, tranquil place or state.
Yeah, and there's that clarity of thought that's not clouded with the defensive states. And so I would say that creativity exists in this region as well.
How the heck do you get to a 10? How did you achieve that? What is there? 5 to 7 is your baseline, right? So when you get to a 10, is there anything you're doing in particular to?
It happens when I'm connecting with someone in a heartfelt way, and I wish the best for them. I know they're wishing the best for me, and it's a wonderful, sense of kindness, reciprocity.
So at a 5 to 7, that's a really nice, really strong baseline. At a 5 to 7, what are you noticing that's different in yourself or your connections with other people? Maybe what are you seeing that's different?
Well, the anxiety is almost gone.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that something?
That's a heck of a thing.
Yeah. I say 5 to 7 because I'm not yet really comfortable making a lot of social overtures. So
Yeah.
that might come.
But you can connect with certain people really deeply, is what I'm hearing, like really meaningful connections.
Yep.
But maybe going out and finding a new friend, you're not quite there to strike up a conversation with somebody and try and find a
Yeah,
new friend.
navigating the levels of emotional intimacy. I need to learn more about that.
Okay, so anxieties, all pretty much not a non-issue from what I'm hearing. Really deep, meaningful connections with people that can share that with you.
Those connections, those meaningful connections, are very sustaining. That sustaining nature carries itself through situations that used to cause me anxiety, used to kind of have me freeze up.
Anything else that you're noticing that's different? Anything you're doing more of or less of compared to the past?
No, not not really. I would say I have the same kind of introverted personality, the same
Yeah.
interests, uh, and so I wouldn't say that a whole lot has changed in that regard. I just feel more resourced to enjoy myself doing those things and being myself.
Yeah. I found the same thing too, that I'm still pretty darn introverted and I'm okay with that.
You bet, yeah.
So is there an example, or is there one moment or a concrete example where you saw like something's really different here? Like the way I used to handle this, I'm now handling it differently?
Yeah, I have a neighbor who uh, is my last link to my late husband,
Mm.
and I have uh, usually been pretty intimidated by this guy. He's quite extroverted, isn't hesitant about voicing his opinions, and I have wanted to, keep a low profile around him. So when he offered an opinion on something I'd done on my property, I was first, taken aback, and then I kind of resourced myself, and I realized, my God, this is a shoot, ready, aim kind of guy,
Yeah.
and it's like at that
Reference.
point, I was like, I don't need to be down here intimidated by his outspokenness. I can, I've kind of sized him up or resized myself. And
Yeah.
so any kind of discomfort with him is gone.
What is one piece of direct, easy, practical advice that you could give to someone who's stuck and just starting out? Actually, it doesn't have to. They don't have to be just starting out, but just someone who's stuck. What advice do you have for them?
I would say reach out for a stuck nut buddy. Reach out for somebody to uh,
Yeah.
have regular conversations with about this stuff.
I'll interject here. When she says stuck not buddy, she's referring to the Stuck Buddies system in the Unstucking Academy. The Stuck Buddies let you partner with a person or two and to do the coursework together.
Reach out for somebody to uh,
Yeah.
have regular conversations with about this stuff. It's one thing to get it cognitively, but for the nervous system to relearn, it needs to be
Yeah.
done in relationship. There needs to be a certain amount of co-regulation going on.
100%. How did you find these women that you're meeting with? I'm really curious. How did they just fall in your lap?
No, no.
No.
One thing I discovered, after I discovered the situation of unrequited love with my mother, I
Yeah.
joined a group called Children of Emotional Neglect, and that's an online group. Jonice Webb has created those, um, and she also encourages us to have small groups where we discuss our stuff.
Okay.
So this group was born out of that teacher's methodology.
That's great advice, though. To yeah, doing it by yourself is and just learning and keeping it cognitive is useful, but it doesn't help you get to that next level. And I like the idea of connecting with someone that is also learning along with you. And I love that your little group, there's no rush. I'm not hearing any urgency. Of course, everyone wants to get more and more unstuck, but there's no pressure. There's no rushing. You meet each other where you're at and reflect it. And that's kind of it. And then you trust each other to continue to unstuck. And you're just along for the ride parallel.
Yeah.
So you've made a lot of progress. Oh, by the way, with everything I'm really curious, with everything you're doing and these different sources you're pulling in, what is the Academy doing for you that's adding to or unique to? Because otherwise it sounds like you've got the connections, you got therapy, Porges, Deb Dana. You're doing a lot. So what's the Academy doing that's unique to you?
It's continually introducing new ways to deepen my
Good.
appreciation and seat it more in my system. I learn by writing, expressing myself, journaling or writing in the community, getting some feedback. I would hate to lose that kind of infusion of a good system, and the support. I would hate to lose that. It's very sustaining.
Yeah, and you've been a great community member. We would hate to lose you in the community. You've been amazing. She also mentioned something to me after we spoke the second time that she wants you to know about. She said, quote, "In our first bungled interview, I recall I spoke about my first SSP, that's the Safe and Sound Protocol, my first SSP 15-minute session as being so revelatory that it felt like a nervous system transplant. I hypothesize that it brought me to a 10 from a 6 out of 10. And she says, therapy, you and my other supports had empowered my nervous system from a 1 to 3 to a 4 to 6. That 10 out of 10 became a touchstone for my nervous system. It certainly accelerated becoming less stuck." All right, so progress is not always permanent, right? I'm guessing you've made steps forward and steps back as well. So how do you stay at a 5 to 7? That's a really strong baseline. How do you ensure that you stay there and not, take significant steps backwards? How do you stay at a 5 to 7?
I'm learning to reach out to my friends. Connection, safety.
Connection and safety. So what's your next step to continue to get unstuck? I believe it's a process and there's layers of unstuckness. What is your next step as best you know?
I'll continue doing what I'm doing, and my interest and goal is to be able to flow through all of the states and have enough flexibility and then confidence in myself to navigate situations that I can explore more, develop more, enjoy more.
So keep doing what you're doing, and then you have your goal as to what that looks like. But really, when it comes down to it day to day, just you're going to keep doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I think we could oftentimes look for the next thing. What's the next person, the next, I don't know, program or whatever. But that's fine, but there's so much value, and if something's working, let's stick with it. Anything else you want to add in before we wrap it up?
Honoring one's own pace is really important. It's the wisdom of the nervous system. It'll let you know when something is moving too quickly or you're pressing too much. When one is kind of working along with it, it will find its way. It really has our best interests at heart.
Janie, thank you once again. Your story is inspiring, and I hope you keep getting more and more unstuck. Dear listener, I hope Janie's story has helped you to understand the importance of co-regulation and safety. Janie's success continually came back to these two pieces, co-regulation and safety. She found these through her therapist, her small group of women that she meets with every week virtually, And, her SSP session where she went from a 6 to 10 out of safety, and within the Unstucking Academy as well. All of these involve safety, yeah, but connections, even when virtual, that is some kind of connection. It's not ideal, but it's a heck of a lot better than nothing. And it's a great supplement if you have other avenues for safety and for co-regulation. Yeah, she did that intensive retreat. And yes, she was safe, but was her nervous system in a state of safety to benefit from that exposure? It didn't really sound like it to me. As she gained more safety, though, she got more benefit from her unstucking efforts. No, I don't expect you to do an intensive retreat like Janie did. And I don't expect you to form a weekly small group. If you can, yeah, please do. Heck yeah. That might be a huge change for you, just like it was for her. But I bet you have connections right at your fingertips that you're neglecting. I bet you have an old friend that you need to reach out to, or a family member. I bet you can say hi to a neighbor. Even if you can't do it in person, a text or a phone call is a lot better than nothing. I bet you're already in a community, whether that's free or paid, that you've been neglecting. Maybe it's time to take advantage of what you already have in front of you. On that note, if you'd like to join the Unstucking Academy, you can learn more through the link in the description. It is justinlmft.com/unstuckingacademy. In the academy, you can connect with amazing people, just like Janie, get super simple steps to build safety, and learn how to get unstuck so you can finally live with more calm, confidence, and connection without psychobabble or woo-woo, of course. By the way, if you are interested in joining the academy, I am limiting it to 150 active subscribers. On June 9th also, the subscription rate is going to go up. This is seriously the best time to become an Unstucking Academy student. You get the lower price rate right now, that's good, right? But you also get to be part of the 150. Once I reach 150 students, then that's it. No more people are going to come in until somebody else leaves. I really want the Unstucking Academy to be a small community. And the more people that come in is nice, but eventually there would be a point where it's too much. And that small, closer-knit community feel would be lost. So I'm keeping it small on purpose. 150 people is the limit. And I hope that you can be one of those 150 people, especially before June 9th. On June 9th, a lot of stuff's going to change. So check the link in the description, go to it to learn more about joining the Unstucking Academy and all the changes that are coming on June 9th.